we're glad you're here. Unity of Vancouver is an inclusive spiritual community, and we warmly welcome all faiths, all people, all lifestyles. I'm Shirley Thompson, and I'm honored to be your host this morning. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Reverend Bob Trask.
Good morning, my family. Well, we're going to have a great day today. Good things are happening. Good things are coming your way. Did you know that? There are good things coming your way in life that you don't even know about right now. Just get ready. It's like Christmas. There are some really wonderful things in your life coming right down the pipe right now. And here at Unity of Vancouver, we're kind of a unique organization. We're not so much a church as a spiritual foundation. It's a place where people come to grow. It's a place where we teach and believe in peace, true peace, peace between us, peace in our own hearts, and peace in the world. And everything we do is to reach and teach peace and love. So now let's begin our day by heightening our awareness of spirit with this wonderful affirmation. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, of love and wisdom. We acknowledge the presence of you, Holy Spirit, and your power. In thy divine wisdom, now you erase our mortal limitations, and from your pure substance of love, you bring into manifestation our world according to your perfect law. So now let's all together recite the one power affirmation. Together now. There's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. God, the good, the omnipotent. God, the good, the omnipotent. Can we get together now as one body, as one community, as one family, and do our meditation? So let's center ourselves by putting our feet flat on the floor and maybe the lower part of our back up against the back of our chair so that our body is completely comfortable. And breathing in either through your mouth or nose and out through either your mouth or nose, and being completely at peace as you hold each incoming breath for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. And then when you let it go, let your body just fall away. Let it just fall away into peace. Let your body fall away into peace with each exhalation. Falling away into peace. Deeper and deeper. With each inhalation, you're inhaling the oxygen that comes from the beautiful plankton of the great seas, from the forests of great trees, and to the grasslands that reach all the way to the horizon. All of them together exhaling oxygen, and all of us together inhaling that oxygen and exhaling CO2 so that they may breathe. And in that way, we in the grasslands, we in the forests, we in the seas become one. As you exhale and inhale, please know that you are inhaling the grace of God. And as you exhale, Let yourself know that you're exhaling your own perfect grace and love. You're expanding now. That sensation that you have throughout your body, that vibration, that's the real you. Your body is not the real you. You are that presence. Let yourself expand now beyond your body, maybe 2 or 3 inches, then a foot, then a meter, until you now fill the room. And then the city. And then the planet. That entire beautiful planet Earth is inside you. And you move beyond that now, expanding out into the universe, those beautiful nebulae, all the galaxies, the stars, so plentiful, more than the grains of sand on the beach. They're scattered across the velvet of eternity, and they are all inside you. And now, in this great realm, this beautiful and powerful realm of oneness that is all the multiverses, you see that all of this is being created from another dimension. And you move across into that dimension now, into that dimension that is the mind of the Creator, the mind of Holy Spirit, the presence of God, the one great mind. You are now inside of that as that. In this beautiful, immense, and all-loving, all-joyful presence, you look back across into that physical universe. And way over there, you see that beautiful marble hanging in the midnight sky that is planet Earth. And you go back to that place where you as a body are living. And you send this message. You are free. You send this message from where you are in the mind of God, as God, to that being. You are free. You are completely well. You are completely well. You are love. You are joy. You are peace. And from this side, where we are God, we send you this message. You are loved. You're so loved. You are blessed. You are so blessed. You are safe. You are protected and you are safe. You are free. You are free. You are completely well. You are completely well. You are love. You are joy. You are peace. Can you allow the warm blanket of love and joy and peace and complete wellness to just wrap around you and snuggle you now? And I'll be quiet. This is who you are. This is the true you. When you come back across into the physical world and back to the sanctuary, please bring this self with you. But stay now and rest until you hear the beautiful music of Beverly and Chris. Just allow yourself to be in love and joy and peace.
You're hearing the call, you're feeling the pull, but it's buried deep inside. When you were young, when you were brave, you used to try it on for size. Then you got lost, then you forgot, and life got in the way. But every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance, so take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be. Like an old friend calling again, you haven't seen it in a while. Well, maybe you'll laugh and maybe you'll cry, but it's gonna make you smile. Open your eyes, open your heart, and just remember who you are, 'cause every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance. So take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be. Time is now and it's still on your side. How much longer are you gonna hide? 'Cause every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams. Every day brings a new chance. Your favorite song has its very own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be.
Please note that there will be a short Q&A at the end of the talk, and Reverend Bob welcomes you to put any questions that occur into the chat window, and he will be happy to answer them at the end of the talk.
Well, my dear friends, another wonderful, beautiful, more spectacular Sunday for us to be together and to grow and to find beyond where our minds can go a truth and a joy and a life that's just more spectacular than we could have ever believed. And that's the way life is supposed to be. We're not supposed to grow up and get into a box, and the box is like, this is my family, and this is my house, and this is my car, this is my job job, and this is my retirement. We're supposed to be moving, always expanding, expanding, expanding into more joy, more life. Our brains are so spectacular, in our hearts, the minds of our hearts, so spectacular that there's no limit. There's simply no limit to what we can do and be and have. No limit. And for those of us that might have been raised in some sort of a false humility that says, well, you can't have everything and you can't be everything and you can't do everything. Baloney. You can have it all. You can have it all because there's no limit to the abundance. In our meditation, we went across to the other side, the side where people go when they so-called die. And in that side, we could feel the power and the beauty and the spectacular, amazing immensity of the presence of Holy Spirit, of the presence of the true God, which is life, which is love, which is grace that flows through you and me right now and makes every cell of our body awaken. Do you know that you're losing 1 million cells every second? 1 million every second. And they're being replaced. How? By what? By that presence that not only is in us, but it is us. And in this magnificent universe that we live in, we come here with a purpose to fulfill, don't we? Don't you have a purpose to fulfill? Don't you have a meaning? Have you found it yet? But you can't do that when you're constantly scrabbling around trying to get a few coins to pay the rent or trying to just get by financially. You need to have a constant flow of wealth through you. If I asked you to take a deep breath and hold it, and just hold it, and just hold it, just don't worry about breathing again, just hold it, you'd eventually either start breathing or you'd pass out. Well, you have to have air. That's our absolutely most valuable asset, air, breathing, oxygen into the alveoli of our lungs, and then scattering out through all of the tiny arteries and arterioles into our cells. Breath, we've got to have air. We just take it for granted. We just breathe it in and out. But we don't do that with money, do we? We try to get a little bit and we hang on to it. Oh my goodness, I can't let this go. What if we held our breath like that, we'd die. Money is moving. Money is a flow. Wealth is a flow. Wealth isn't, I got it now. I got this big pile of green money, and that's not wealth. Wealth is a flow. And it's your beliefs that make you rich or make you poor. Your beliefs. Or they can keep you in between. In fact, only your beliefs have influence over your prosperity. And I want to say something just quickly to those of you who've done all right. You've got a pretty good bank account. You've got a lot of money. Pay attention to the fact that that's not all. That's not all. You see, you have prosperity in your finances. You must have prosperity in your relationships and in your health and in your creativity and in your spirituality and in your peace of mind and in your daily joy. You have to have prosperity in all of those. And if you stop one of those, if you tighten up on one of those, all of them get stopped. You've got to keep them flowing. You got to keep them open. If you have a lot of money, start thinking about where you can use some of that wealth to help uplift the world around you. And start doing that. Every great person, every wealthy and famous person started out as a baby with no guarantees. I don't care if you were born a Rockefeller. You had no guarantees when you started out. Some may say that those born with great wealth or famous parents who have greater advantages. However, we already know from the news that many of those, the fame and fortune was in fact a problem, maybe a curse rather than a blessing, a problem rather than a grace. Because they didn't get a chance to go through the steps of growing themselves into life. They just had everything handed to them, and they didn't go through the pain and the agony of zits as a teenager and unstoppable lust and loneliness and feeling like a failure and finding our way through that and growing. So I'm going to briefly talk about some attitudes that have to do with grace, that have to do with wealth. And I'm just going to read these off. The 7 attitudes of wealth. And it's an ancient philosophy that I just made up. But it's true. Yeah, I just made it up, but it's true. I followed these through my life, and I can tell you they work. Number 1 is acceptance. Acceptance of life as it is, acceptance of what is. I can't move from here until I accept here. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care how lonely, how painful it is. Until I'm in totally acceptance of it, I can't then move to the next level. Second step, faith. Faith, even the size of a mustard seed. Trust is faith. It's trust. It's your belief. It's your acknowledgement that there is a power greater than you in this universe, and it's guiding you, leading you. It's inside of you, as you, if you can just get out of the way. And the way to get out of the way, of course, is with acceptance. Acceptance and faith, number one and number two. Number three, gratitude. And that's also a part of acceptance and faith. To be grateful for what I have. To be grateful for the dreams that I have. That are dreams of something greater, of something more. To be grateful for that, because that's the open doorway of the channel of grace flowing through you. To be grateful for all that I have, no matter how small. And then fourth, to be generous. Generosity. No matter how little I have, give part of it away. It doesn't matter if I'm living under a bridge and I have one crust of bread, break it in half and give half to someone else. And then clarity, to be clear in my mind about what the truth is of life. I can't afford to be confused. You know, you're like a sailor sailing to the new world, and you set out in your ship and you have a compass and you say to your crew, keep this compass heading. This is where we're going. And so many of us don't have that clarity. We're banging off the walls. You have to have clarity. And then when you have clarity, you have to have the courage of your clarity, the courage to stay the course. And then finally, confidence. But confidence comes when we practice acceptance, faith, gratitude, generosity, clarity, and courage. Then comes the confidence. Then comes number 7, confidence, which expands us and tells us, yes, I can do even more. Now, maybe some of us have excuses for not being as successful as we dream. Maybe you think you didn't get enough education, for instance, to be as successful as you dreamed. You wanted to go to college, but you couldn't afford it, or you had to drop out for this or that reason, or it didn't work for you. And so you didn't get all the education that you thought you wanted. So here are the names of a few people who didn't get the education of others, and yet their dreams were so strong they won anyway. Henry Ford left school at age 5, or at grade 5. Thomas Edison only had 3 months of schooling. Benjamin Franklin dropped out of school at the age of 10. You know, the billionaire Richard Branson, who's created Virgin Air and is now going off into space, he suffered dyslexia and he dropped out of high school at the age of 15. Walt Disney dropped out at the age of 16. Charles Dickens dropped out of high school to support his family financially. Quentin Tarantino dropped out at the age of 15. Billionaire David Murdoch dropped out of high school in the 9th grade. Listen to me, I'm going to tell you something that's going to be revolutionary to some of us. You cannot trust your mind. I want to repeat that. You cannot trust your brain mind. You can't. You can't trust that to get you wealthy. It can't just to get you healthy. It can't trust that to get you the relationships that you want and need. Because that mind only looks at the past. That's all it knows. It doesn't look at the future. It doesn't look at the possibilities. It just looks at the past and it says, well, it was like this. And it was like this, and it was like this. So I guess now it's going to be like this. And so you say, oh, okay. So you go along with that. You can't trust that. There's no imagination in that. The heart mind imagines. The brain mind doesn't recognize the amazing plethora of things that are available to you. If you trust that mind to lead you, I promise you, it'll lead you in circles. And when you see someone ahead and you catch up, it'll be you're following. So today we're talking about beliefs and how they can either make you wealthy or sabotage you. I'm going to tell you the stories of many people today. I'm going to tell you the stories of many people. And each of them have an idea of how they got successful and wealthy, and they're going to tell us what they thought. I believe they all have one thing in common, and that's courage. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people, and I can tell you that it didn't matter what the obstacles were. Some succeeded, some were blind, some were crippled, some were in prison for life, some had no education and couldn't speak right, stumbled on their words, some were old and gray-haired, and you would have thought their life was over. For all of those, my deep thanks for what you've taught me, that only quitters lose. Those with the courage to be themselves, do themselves, have themselves, they win, regardless of what others might say or think. They are my heroes, and they're the ones who will make this world a better place. What makes them able to have such courage? Just this: they believe in themselves. They didn't listen to somebody else. They believe in themselves. They believe in a power in the universe that's available for them. When they get off their butts and go forward through all the doubts and obstacles, they believe. And we need to believe if we're going to win at life. Here we are on the playing field, and we have a short time to make a difference, don't we? We can be the difference we want to see in our lives. We can be the difference that we want to see in the world. If only we can believe. Only if we can believe we can. So here's the question: do we believe? Do we believe?
Do you believe in things unseen? Do you believe in the power of a dream? When a dream has been laid to rest, do you believe God knows best? Or do you believe things will work out? Do you believe beyond a shadow of your doubts? When you're praying as hard as you can, do you believe in God's plan? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe there's good in the pain? Do you believe in the rainbow after the rain? When you're feeling so empty inside, like the well has run dry, do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Now door after door keeps on closing, and you feel like there's nowhere to turn. Well, love always leaves a window wide open. Do you believe in the love you have learned? Do you believe things unseen? Do you believe in the power of your dream? When you're questioning all that you knew, do you believe in God's truth? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe there'll be sun after the rain? Do you believe there can be joy inside the pain? Do you believe there's a well of love that never runs dry? Do you believe when you're empty inside? Do you believe? Oh, I do believe, I do believe. Do you believe? You know I do, I really do believe. Do you believe? Yes, I do believe. Do you believe? Oh, I do believe. I really do believe.
Oh, yes, I do believe. Yes, Beverly and Chris, thank you so much. So, my dear friends, who are those people that we might be able to compare our lives with? Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey, who had a pretty rough start. She's born into poverty in rural Mississippi and grew up wearing potato sacks because her family couldn't afford clothes. She was shuffled between family members and lived in boarding schools and boarding houses and rural farms and had to deal with both sexual abuse and teenage pregnancy. And yet she's worth $3 billion. How do you get there? How does a Black woman coming from that kind of background get there? She says the key to fulfillment, success, and happiness is when you align your personality with what your soul actually came here to do. You align your personality with what your soul came here to do, and then you can't help but be successful. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple computers in a garage, and when he died, Steve Jobs was worth $10.2 billion. His advice to you: persevere when times get tough. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick, he said, but don't lose faith. Richard Branson, you know he's one of the most wealthy men in the world. At one point believed he was the dumbest person in school. He's now said to be worth $4.2 billion. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, was a private in the Army who created his future by believing in himself. He now has an operating income of more than $21 billion. His tips for success: ignore the conventional wisdom. If everyone else is doing it one way, there's a good chance you can find your niche by doing it exactly in the opposite direction. Shania Twain grew up in rural Canada, and her family was so poor that young Shania sang in bars in order to make enough money to feed the family. Just when it looked like her career was going to really take off, both her mom and her stepdad were killed in a car accident, and she moved back home to take care of her siblings. And she did that by taking care of them and performing at a resort. But through it all, she kept pursuing her passion. She believed. Now she doesn't worry about their family going hungry. She's a best-selling artist with a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars. At one time, Colonel Sanders was a simple older guy with a restaurant that was going broke and a fried chicken recipe that he believed in and a dream. The only thing that made him different from the average person was his determination, his courage, his clarity, and his faith. He drove around the country sleeping in his car and knocking on doors, trying to promote his recipe for fried chicken. And he was rejected, listen to this, 1,009 times before someone said yes. And when he passed away, he was worth $10 million. Growing up, did you know that Michael Jordan was called this goofy kid who liked basketball? He wasn't tall enough to really be any good. He didn't come from an athletic family. In high school, he got kicked off the basketball team. He wasn't good enough to play on the team. Like Colonel Sanders and Shania Twain, he was fully determined. He said, I failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeeded. That's why he succeeded. He found a way to turn his rejection into a strength, and now we know him as the greatest basketball player of all times, worth, are you ready for this? $1.6 billion. I'm not talking about people who had some great gift. I'm talking about you and me. These are normal people who did abnormal things. Demi Moore, self-proclaimed trailer park kid, moved from place to place with her alcoholic parents throughout her entire childhood. Yet through determination and never giving up, she's now worth $150 million. Hilary Swank, also a freight trailer park kid from Bellingham, Washington. Two-time Oscar-winning actress. She's been very open about her childhood poverty. She said she grew through this poverty and now she's worth $40 million. Justin Bieber grew up in Canada with his single mom. He says, I remember being poor and being teased by other kids. I remember sitting in restaurants with my mother and she'd make me order water instead of soda. He's now worth $84 million. As a kid, Jennifer Lopez was just Jenny from down the block. She grew up in the Bronx, walking around with holes in her shoes, and even was homeless for a while. Now she's worth over $400 million and makes $30 million a year. Both of J.K. Rowling's parents came from impoverished backgrounds. After she graduated from university, J.K. Rowling spent years doing odd jobs and living off government welfare and couch surfing, living on people's couches before she published Harry Potter at the age of 32. Her net worth is about $650 million. Mark Wahlberg didn't come easily into wealth. He came from a broken home, spent his teenage years dealing drugs and feeding his cocaine addiction and getting into fights. 3 of my brothers, he said, had done time. My sister went to prison so many times, I lost count. Finally, I was there too, locked up with the kind of guys I've always wanted to be. I'd earned my stripes and I was just like them. And then I realized that's not what I wanted to do at all. I had to learn to stay on the straight and narrow to make something happen with my life. Since then, he turned his life around and is one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and he's worth over $225 million. When Carrie was just 12, and I'm talking about our dear friend Carrie from Canada, his father lost his job, leaving 4 kids to stay at home, mom, living in a van and working all together as security guards and janitors. He's now recognized around the world, isn't he, for his genius talent. He's worth $180 million. Celine Dion, the youngest of 14 kids, living on $160 a week, the whole family living on $160 a week, her dad walking to work to save the 10-cent bus fare. Now she's worth over $380 million. Circa Jessica Parker, worth $80 million today, but she grew up much, much less. She said, I remember being poor. There was no way to hide it. We didn't have electricity. Sometimes we didn't have Christmas presents. Sometimes we didn't have birthdays. Sometimes our bill collectors came or the phone company would call and say, we're shutting off your phone. She's now worth $90 million. You know what these people did? You know what they had in common with you and with me? Like us, they had a dream. Like us, they had a dream. But like so many others, they also had the courage of their dreams because they saw their dreams as valid destinations, not as passing fantasies. How about you? Are your dreams vision for what's to come? Or are they just fantasies? Are they real places you're going in your life? Or are you just zigzagging back and forth like a moth in a bottle? Are you dreaming a dream that will fill you with joy and with gratitude and with more spectacular life than you can ever imagine? Can you dream now of yourself and that success and that wealth and that place of well-being, that place of peace of mind? That can you just go there now? Can you feel yourself there? Then you need to have those seven steps: acceptance of what is exactly the way it is, and faith that things will get where they need to be and that you will be able to make it, and gratitude for things exactly as they are, and the generosity to flow whatever you have out of you so that it can flow into you. And then the clarity and the courage and the confidence necessary to be who you are and to reach for the dreams. Can you dream now of yourself in that success and wealth? Do you dare? Then when you dream, don't let your dream be watered down by self-doubt. You're worth more than that. Reach up to your highest imaginable self and dream that high. Then hold your course and let Holy Spirit be the wind at your back. You can do it. Together we can do it. I love you.
Thank you, Bob. That was exquisite. Life can be what I make it to be. Everything real comes naturally. Magic is with me in a place I can't see when I dream. When I dream of the mountains that one day I'll climb, or travel the oceans inside my mind. Everything's possible, everything's fine when I dream. When I dream. Anytime I go inside and ask the questions in my mind, relax and breathe and enjoy the ride. Mystery adventure is waiting for me. Let myself float on the wings of desire, turning that feeling of passion to fire. Letting go is all that's required when I dream. When I dream. Anytime I go inside and ask the questions in my mind, relax and breathe and mystery adventure is waiting for me. I let myself float on the wings of desire, turning that feeling of passion to fire. Letting go is all that's required when I dream, when I dream, when I dream, when I dream, dream.
I can't even put into words what a joy it is when my dear, dear brother and sister Beverly and Chris are here. We are so connected by heart, and I so love you guys. Thank you. You are everything I want to be when I grow up.
We love you, Bob. Thank you.
The Q&A starts now.
Before we start, there's just a couple of things I'd like to say. One is that I want to remind you that dreaming, in the way we talk about dreaming, is not the same as daydreaming or just imagining. It's actually creating a vision, a solid vision out there that you have to have the intention and the commitment to create it. See, once you get committed to that vision, once you get committed to that dream, then that great realm of possibilities, the great pressure of the infinite moves forward to separate the obstacles out of your way and bring you into oneness with your dream. But that can't happen until you decide and become committed to it. Until you become committed and start moving forward, nothing happens. In Genesis, it says, in the beginning, all was darkness and void. And then God said, let there be light. And there was light. And the light shined in the darkness, and the darkness grasped it not. So now here you are, and you're at the beginning. And the beginning is at the end of your nose. That's the beginning. The future does not exist until you create it. Until you create it. And you create it by deciding what it will be, and then committing to that and staying the course through all the obstacles and bumps and grinds until it happens. Everyone I talked about today did that, and so can you. Okay, let's have some questions.
Okay. Bob, our first question is, the word courage literally means from the heart. How can we use our hearts to develop more courage in our lives?
Really a good question. Thank you. Because see, the thing of it is that we grew up thinking with our brain. You know, until we were like 6 years old, Buckminster Fuller said every person is a genius until they're 6. What happens at 6? At 6, we go to school. And then we learn that this vast imaginative thing that connects our heart with our brain, it's just a heart-brain connection. It's a cohesion, as according to Heart Math Institute. And that's the world. We have the world at our feet. And then we learn that we aren't so smart, that we have to have ABCs, and we have to have 1, 2, 3s, and we have to put them together in a lineal way and keep it up here. And if we pass tests with this up here and remember with things up here, then we become somebody. But we miss it. We become computers. This is just a computer. We have to have our hearts. And so how we do that is to get our attention in our hearts, to begin to start thinking with our hearts, to becoming aware with our hearts, to let our hearts lead us. The heart sends more messages to the brain. Did you know that? Than the brain sends to the heart? The heart sends more messages to the brain. So let your heart send the messages to the brain and tell the brain, this is what I want to do. Rather than having your brain saying, shut up, we're going to do this because it's what we've always done. No. Let the heart lead the way. Thank you.
Our next question is, how can I believe when my life is falling apart?
Oh, thank you. Whoever you are, thank you. God bless you. God is blessing you. God is blessing you. Yes, I'm wondering if you know how many times people who have become very, very successful, their lives were falling apart. I must confess to you and to everyone that twice in my life was so completely and totally devastated, and I had no hope left. And I was in the pit of depression so bad that twice I came very close to committing suicide. I came because I had nothing. I was nothing. I meant nothing. I had no purpose. I was a complete, total failure. I was unloved. I was unloving. I was done. I was done. And here I am. And that was like 50 or 60 years ago. When you are in the depths of despond, when you are at the bottom, if you can just believe that there is within you a connection to the Almighty, if you can just see that. Jesus said to have faith the size of a mustard seed. Do you know what that means? The size of a mustard seed? That's tiny. So if your whole world is filled with blackness, hopelessness, doneness, I can't make it work, I'm finished. If you can just find that one little glimmer of light the size of a mustard seed and focus on that and stay focused on that, it will grow. And it will grow until it takes over your life. But I can tell you this, when your life is completely falling apart, there is someone who believes in you. Me, for one, but you have friends or family or someone who believes in you. And I know that they've probably kept telling you, you'll make it through this, you'll be okay. And you're not listening because you're not believing. Believe. Stop, pardon my sounding rude, but since I've been there, I can tell you the game. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, because that's an end game. And start believing in yourself that there's a power inside of you and that you have a purpose for being here, and that this dip in your life is going to be a lesson that you're going to be strengthened by and that you'll be able to pass on to someone else, just like I'm passing mine on to you. Know that you're loved and you're blessed. I'm sending you my love.
And Bob, our next question, how do you obtain and maintain happiness?
Well, happiness is reactive. Joy is a state of mind. Happiness can't be maintained because it's reactive. Something great happens and wonderful happens and I'm happy. And something terrible and awful happens and I'm sad. And that's okay. Life goes up and down in waves. That's the way it's supposed to be. But underlying all of that happiness and sadness has got to be a state of being, a platform, a foundation that's joy. And that can only be there when we grow spiritually to the place that we know who we are spiritually. And that's our foundation. And then our life on top of that goes up and down. But we are not our lives. We are not our experiences. We are not our minds. We are solid, powerful, eternal spiritual beings. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about some vaporous, ghostly Casper thing. I'm talking about the real you. The real you. Your body is only like 1/billionth of a percent matter. The rest of it's all space. You are grace. Your body is grace. You're holding it together with the mind of who you are. Let that mind be a mind in joy. How do you do that? You listen and you look and you see. Stop living in the speeded up world. Stop living in the future. Oh, I wonder what'll happen. Oh, I've got to go. I'm in a hurry. Stop that. Look right now as we're talking. Look at me. Don't just look at me. See me. Don't just listen to my words. Hear my voice. Hear the tone in my voice. Be here right now. If you be here right now and you look around the room that you're in and you feel the space around you, which is filled with grace, the powerful grace of God is the space. That's the space. That's the water that we as fish swim through without ever knowing it's there. You need to be in joy, not happiness. Happiness is reactive. It's up and down, it's in and out. Joy is a state of being that's there no matter what happens at the moment of birth and at the moment of death. Stay with us. That's what we're teaching. That's where you'll go if you'll just stay with us. I love you.
And Bob, our next question is from Uta. So how do we find our dream or purpose when we have no clarity?
So Joseph, it's very simple. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. And if you don't know what your bliss is, then you have to ask yourself, what would thrill me? What would give me joy? And then do that. Then follow that. You have to follow your bliss. And see, the problem is that you start using this up here to look for your bliss. There's no bliss up here. This is a computer. It's the most magnificent thing that was ever created in all the universe, this brain. I'm so excited about the brain, but the brain's a computer. Your bliss is in your heart, Uta. You have to follow your heart. Get out of your thinking and start trusting your heart and trusting that passionate soul. Trust love, trust joy, trust peace. Find those in your heart. Get out of your head and be in your heart. And then you find purpose. Then you find a reason to be here. Thank you.
And another question is, if prosperity is a state of consciousness, then how do I pay my rent when times are tough?
See, that's a secondary problem. I mean, I don't mean to minimize that because, when I was a kid, we were evicted for not being able to pay our rent. We lived in housing projects. We were terribly poor. And we were constantly getting evicted. And I know that for somebody to have come to us and said, well, just change your attitude and all will be well, would have been total malarkey. But I'm telling you that when you can't pay your rent and you have a problem paying your rent, it's because you have not grown in wealth and prosperity. So you can't say, how do I pay my rent when I'm not in prosperity? You have to say, how do I get in prosperity when I can't pay my rent? How do I get in prosperity? And today's lesson and all of the lessons of this month are about how I get into prosperity. But it starts with your mind. If you believe you're poor, you're poor. If you believe you're a wealthy person who's just undergoing a temporary deficit, then that's okay. But you've got to believe you're wealthy. No less than the trees and the stars and the deer and the birds and the flowers of the field. You have a right to be here, and you have a right to be being taken care of by the abundance of this universe. It's your attitude that has changed that and pushed you into a place where you're having a hard time paying rent. You've got to change. You've got to know that you are already wealthy. You've just had ways of subconsciously blocking it. Let's go to work together and make that different. Let's go to work together. Stay with us. Thank you.